more about this with Bronwen Maddox, Director of the UK's Institute of Government. I mean, in Britain right now, you're already dealing with this cost of living crisis. You're worried literally about winter and how you're going to pay for heat. And now you have yet another political storm, a battered prime minister, these two cabinet ministers, even the finance minister at this point in time, the Chancellor of the Exchequer resigning. I mean, they have been scathing, even from the resignation letters, you know, one of them saying these are standards worth fighting for. So they're fighting. How much further can they go in order to actually push him, though?
There is a shock factor to what's happened today. I was chairing an event with Jeremy Hunt, one of the backbench MPs, formerly a senior minister who's often mooted as a possible contender. That was on Monday, just yesterday. No hint of this. I listened to a speech yesterday by Keir Starmer, the leader of the opposition. Again, no hint of this. It was very much politics as usual. The shock of what's happened today, I think, takes it above the just one more episode in what has been a very long-running political saga of scandals, things Boris Johnson's government has slipped up in, for which he or it has apologised and so on. It's gone on for a long time. This feels different to me. They are very senior, they are heavyweight, and they have made, in measured but very impassioned terms, an attack on him and a sort of impassioned plea for the standards which they feel he is letting slip.
Certainly their resignations, as you said, they've been quite candid in those letters of resignation. But I have to ask, what could they possibly be hatching? We had Bianca explain that 1922 committee. And all that is really is a committee from within who will be able to, again, set the parameters of when you can have a challenge to Boris Johnson's leadership. Do you think that is part of the plan here in having these two cabinet members resign?
No, I think they simply wanted to resign. They obviously agreed with each other that they were going to resign. They coordinated this. The 1922 committee elections or selections for those posts are going on, as we've been hearing on your programme. So that is one route, the procedural route, if you like, that the 1922 gets a new executive, which changes the rules and has another vote of no confidence or of confidence in the Prime Minister, possibly very soon, much sooner than a year, possibly within weeks or months. That is one route. But another one, as you were also discussing, is that the people in grey suits, we can call it that these days, comes to Boris Johnson and says, look, this is going to happen with the 1922 committee. You are not going to win. The backbenchers are completely against you. You have it. The only thing you have left in your control is to step down now. And so do you want to take that option? And that is possibly what is going to happen. Or, you know, he just tries to hang on, reappoints or tries to reappoint successors to the people who resigned, just tries to slug it out, seeing what will happen. That is certainly in the nature of this Prime Minister, but his options are closing.
In fact, as you say, it is in his very character. What has been in the character of British citizens is to be incredibly patient. And yet when you look at the scale of the crises facing the British public right now, how do you think they will interpret this? And given that, do you think Boris Johnson survives the summer?
I think the odds of Boris Johnson surviving the summer have enormously worsened against him today. I didn't think that before. I was very much in the camp of he will hang on and he will survive, or he will survive for quite a long time, but he will definitely hang on. I think that has changed for me today. As to what else happens, I mean, I think the next general election will turn on the cost of living, on the economy. Those are really the things that are very much on the British public's mind.
As well, they should be, certainly given all the challenges ahead. We will leave it there for tonight. Again, though, we are still awaiting to see if there is more news out of Britain this evening. Bronwen Maddox will leave it there for now, though. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.